Hey guys, so today I'm going to be doing another One Piece video. It's been a while since I've done a One Piece video. It was one of the first videos I made on this channel a couple months ago, and it was a discussion on the first half of One Piece. So if you missed that and you want to go check it out, then you can on the One Piece playlist on my channel. So there I'll be giving you my thoughts on the Fishman Island arc, which is the first arc in the second half of One Piece once they get to the New World. Now there's a lot to talk about, so let's get started. I should also mention this will be a spoiler heavy review, so if you are not caught up to the Fishman Island arc, finished it, then don't watch this video. Now first I have to say, I absolutely loved the transition from part 1 to part 2. I didn't really talk about this in my first video because it was spoiler free, but basically I loved how Luffy did the whole thing with his arm. He goes up to the grave to pay his respects, and all the Straw Hats see his hidden message that only they know, and they all go off to train for 2 years on their own separate ways, and then they all reunite at the Sabaody archipelago. That was just, oh yes. I also loved how we see that the reason the Sunny basically didn't get trashed in the time they were gone is because Bartholomew Kuma had one last mission programmed into him, his last request, before he basically got turned into a mindless robot, and that was to protect the Sunnies. So that was pretty awesome, or at least protect the Straw Hats or whatever. That was really cool. So they're finally gone off to Fishman Island, and I feel kind of bad for these guys because they were like planning to go there since they left Water 7, which was a really long time ago. But to be honest, if they had gone there right away, like right after they finished up with Thriller Bark, they would have gotten their asses handed to them. Everyone is so much more powerful now, even the guys like Usopp and Nami who are a bit weaker. Now they have a ton more powers. Zoro got training from Mihawk. Luffy's got that hockey stuff going on, pretty sick. And now Chopper can transform without the Rumble Ball and stuff. It's all pretty cool, and he can control himself in that super monster form. Anyway, so in order to get to the New World, they of course have to pass through Fishman Island. So they go there, and this is where pretty much the whole arc takes place, and it was really, really cool. Now I wouldn't say this is one of my favorite arcs in One Piece, just because it didn't really do anything all that different with the formula. However, I still really, really enjoyed it. Also, it was a really good length. I think if it went on longer, it may have dragged on a bit, but it was only like 5 volumes long, so that's pretty good. So we've known for a while in One Piece that the Fishmen are not on good terms with the humans, and we find out a lot more about that conflict in this arc. We learn about the history of the Fishmen and the humans, and yeah, it was not very good. So I already knew that some humans use fishmen as slaves, and the bad guy in this arc, Hody, he wants to flip it around. He basically wants to show that the fishmen are the superior race. He wants to take over the world, and use the humans as slaves, because they are inferior, and all that crap. We also get more of Arlong's backstory. Like Arlong, that guy way back in East Blue, the guy who killed Belmare or whatever. So him and Jinbei were actually on the same pirate crew. However, their captain was killed by humans. Now after this, they had very different views on the whole thing, so they went their separate ways, and man, Jinbei's such a boss. He has to be like one of my favorite characters. At the end of this arc, Luffy asks him to join the crew, and he says, "Not right yet, because I still have stuff to do, but one day," which makes me super excited. I know it hasn't happened yet, because I try to avoid spoilers for One Piece, but I know for a fact that no one else has joined the crew. But yeah, that just makes me excited. I'm not sure if anything happens with their relationship in the future, but I would really, really love to see Jinbei as a part of their crew. Now, this was also a really action-heavy arc. Well, what am I saying? They're all action-heavy. But we really get to see the Straw Hats' new powers and just how insane they are. We see Hody comes up, what was it? It was like 100, I think it was 100,000 people in his army. And Luffy basically takes half of them out in just like one hit with his new hockey powers. That's nuts. Also, every time I say hockey, I think about, like the actual sport. And then that's kind of weird. Also, it was interesting to see how the evil Fishman guys were actually using steroids to increase their powers, and how it shortens their lives, so by the end of the arc, and they all get locked up, they're like all old men. That was pretty awesome. So even though we may see foes like Crocodile and Buggy again, I doubt we're gonna see these fools. Now we also get introduced to the royal family of Fishman Island, like King Neptune, because that's That's a name that's never been used before. And Shirahoshi, who is the princess who is a crybaby who befriends Luffy. And we learn about her mother, the queen, who wanted to make peace with the humans, but she got assassinated by what looked like a human, which is why everyone hates humans, but it turns out it was actually Hody, which, you know, was kind of predictable, but still, like, what a douche. Now, one thing that got a bit annoying in this arc, it didn't go on for very long, and it's not that big a problem, but I mean, friggin' Sanji, basically, when he comes back from the 2 years, he has lost his mind because he spent 2 years with all these ugly women. He hasn't seen a real woman in forever. So basically, every time he sees a pair of boobs, he just explodes. Blood starts gushing out of his nose. And usually, you know, that's not even a problem. He'll just, like, blood gush out of his nose. He'll be fine on the next page. But this time it actually becomes a real problem where when he sees the mermaids or whatever, he loses so much blood that he's actually dying and needs a blood transfusion. And this becomes like a whole big thing. I'm like, yeah, okay, maybe that's going a bit too far. But eventually he gets over it, so it's not really that big a deal. There was also this whole ordeal with this huge arc called the Noah. Because, you know, you see what he did there. And originally the queen had planned, before she got killed, that it would take all of the Fishman Island up to the surface where they could live in peace with everyone. But instead, Hody's like, oh no, we're going to crash that into Fishman Island, kill all the humans that are there. So we had this whole thing with the arc coming to Fishman Island, which was honestly pretty cool. And we also learned that Shirahoshi is this rare type of princess or whatever who could actually speak to the Neptunians, which is pretty awesome. We haven't seen all that many, like, Neptunians in One Piece, even though, you know, they exist. This is the only time we get to see, like, a lot of them. There's this Kraken dude who helps out the Straw Hats. He was pretty badass. Also, before the Neptunians stopped Noah from crashing into Fishman Island, Luffy was gonna break it, which is kind of nuts, just knowing how powerful he is. Because that arc was like 1,000 times the size of Luffy, and he was going to destroy the whole thing using his Gear Third powers or whatever. Alright, so now I'm going to talk about the end of this arc for a little bit, and the transition into the next one. I have to say, some of my favorite parts in One Piece are the transition parts, you know, when they're learning more things about what's going on and where they're going next. So basically, these guys were away for 2 years. And they really haven't been following what's going on. So it turns out the Kainu, the dude who killed Ace, is now the Fleet Admiral of the Navy. So he has, like, all the power. And he had this fight with Aokiji, because Aokiji, he's usually lazy, but he's like, no man, I don't think you should do this. So they have a fight for 10 years. So they have a fight for 10 days, the last 10 days, and the Kainu finally wins and he becomes Fleet Admiral. Now Aokiji, I'm pretty sure he resigns, I think that's how it went. And yeah, that's pretty nuts. It's kind of scary how a Kainu now runs most of the Navy. Because he is a scary dude. I mean, Sengoku, I mean, yeah, he wanted to, you know, kill Luffy and all them, but he wasn't really scary. But yeah, Kainu, I would not want to mess with him. Now we also know that Marshal D. Teach, Blackbeard, is now one of the 4 emperors of the sea. He took Whitebeard's place after Whitebeard died. And speaking of the emperors, we finally get to see Big Mom. Well, sort of. We see her with there's like shadow covering her, but we know she's massive, and she's fat, and she lives on an island full of sweets. And this was a hilarious introduction, because basically Fishman Island produces sweets for her. They have like an agreement. And every month they have to send her so many sweets. But they actually ate all the sweets at the feast for the Straw Hats, and they didn't have time to make some because of the conflict that was going on. So she gets pretty pissed off. And then Luffy starts talking to her, starts yelling at her, and everyone's like, no, don't. So that was pretty awesome. It's great to see how Luffy is still Luffy. He's just such a great character. One of my favorite things he says in this arc is that when someone calls him a hero, he's like, no, I don't want to be called a hero. Because if he were a hero, he would share the meat with everyone else. But he wants to keep all the meat for himself. And so at the end, Nami gets a new compass that will help them navigate the New World and its crazy magnetic fields. And then they finally reach the New World. It was really awesome too. They ride up from the surface with a bunch of whales, these same whales that Laboon used to be with. Now at first I actually thought it was Laboon because they sort of make it out that way, and for a second I'm like, whoa, no! But yeah, no, it wasn't Laboon. He's still on the other side of the world, which kinda sucks. Now one last thing I want to talk about, they had this prophet there at Fishman Island, and she has a prophecy. She says that one day Luffy will destroy Fishman Island. Now of course this doesn't happen, but people say in this arc that her predictions never fail. Now there is a theory about One Piece, a theory that basically connects the whole story together, says what the One Piece is, and how everyone will fulfill their dreams and all that stuff. And I'm not going to go into detail here, but if this makes a lot of sense if that theory is correct. To sum it up, basically, the One Piece is the notion of connecting all the world's oceans into one, which will allow for easy transport. This will, of course, create the All Blue. Everyone will be able to go about completing their dreams. But in order to do this, you would have to destroy the Red Line and the Grand Line, which would in turn pretty much destroy Fishman Island because it is directly under them. Which makes a ton of sense. Because the only reason Luffy would destroy Fishman Island is if, you know, he was the whole thing. Like, it all comes together perfectly. It's an amazing theory. You should definitely check it out. I'll have to remember to link it in the description. So yeah, that was my review for the Fishman Island arc of One Piece. I really enjoyed it and I can't wait to read more. The next full arc review I will be doing will be for the Soul Society arc in Bleach. So you can look forward to that, and I will see you guys in the next video.